Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
Lovely to see you again. Today we're talking about a house that I don't think we've ever really spoken about, have we?
No.
And I've certainly never smelled anything from this house ever in the history of the world, since the world was invented.
So this is we're talking about Jorum Studios. This is one that's certainly been on my radar for a little while. I mean, we always want to kind of try new houses, but especially one which
perfume houses, not living.
Occasionally we house swap, you know. Yeah. But one which is quite close to home. In Edinburgh,
like 3 or 4 hours up the way on a train.
I mean, I was saying I actually spent a couple of weeks in Edinburgh in the summer working, and I really meant to go and check this out, but I kept getting drunk and going to absurdist comedy.
Unprofessional.
So, but anyway, so we're finally getting round to trying Jorum Studio. So
I'm excited.
Founded in 2016 by Ewan McCall, and initially they were they were making fragrances for other brands.
Okay.
But kind of from 2019, they launched their own brand. Ewan with his partner Chloe Mullen. Jorum Studio. So he's also, I see he's now having done fragrances for other brands in the past, almost kind of anonymously. He's now done a few less anonymously. He's just done one for Asman. You know, we did a review of Asman fragrances, and he's also done some for Neanderthal. Anyway, we're not talking about those. We are talking about Jorum Studios. So this is a little sample set I bought from a collection called Progressive Botany. So these are, I guess, one of the reasons we haven't talked about this earlier. They're a little bit tricky to get hold of. I mean, in terms of sample sets, this was the only kind of set I could get. They've recently released a collection called the Scottish Odyssey set, which had just happened. But the ones we're smelling now are actually from 2019. So they're from a few back in the midst of kind of like
pre-pandemic. So in a way, I mean, this is sort of hot off the press.
Well,
I mean, minus the little 3-year gap that we've had.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get started?
I want to smell these. They're lined up in front of us on the bench, and I'm looking at them.
So if you're new to our channel, when we try a new house, the way it generally works is that I've ordered the samples. I've worn them both a couple of times. I'm flapping around pages of notes I have made, but Joe hasn't tried them before. So you're going to get Joe's first impression. So he doesn't know kind of notes, lists, and things like that. You're going to get his first.
And in a way, I mean, Dan lives with the perfumes and wears them. But I smell them, and I come up with the most profound, life-changing sort of judgment because I have a nose. Well, actually, I have one nostril bigger than the other. I think this is my smelling nostril.
I've got deviated septum.
Yeah, we should go and get like joint surgery on our septums. What I mean, can you imagine that? What a tragic day if we both left and we both lost our sense of smell on the same day.
Right, I need to. I've done these in a certain order, and so I've now got to find out. So we're going to try. What's it called? Trimerous.
Trimerous.
Yeah,
that's a great name.
These are all great names, and I don't really know how to say any of them. I assume it's.
So if someone said, how do you maintain your beard? You say Trimerous.
Yeah.
I'll give it a trim.
Let's have a good old spray.
Dan loves giving plenty of sprays on these cards.
Especially with these little like atomizers you're going to get stuck in. So let me read a bit of the blurb. So here we are. There is an eerie silence after the harvest. From the small square window we await the autumnal shift. Dusting across fields of hair-eared crowns, we pray the rare roots make it through the hoar. That's H-O-A-R.
The hoarfrost.
The hoarfrost, not...
I have to say, I really like that straight away. That brings a smile to my face. That's me smiling. Clean, bright, energetic.
A triptych of veils shading the finest facets of prized orris root. So you definitely, I mean, you get kind of orris, but as you say, you get this kind of polished, bright, clean quality.
Very clean.
So the first image I got, which may be a peculiar one, so I imagine some kind of conservatory floor with like polished marble, and then, do you know like a cheese plant with those green...
I don't think I've seen one.
A cheese plant, so it's like it got big green leaves. I just imagine this kind of cheese plant. It doesn't smell of cheese.
Are you sure you weren't dreaming about a tree that cheese grows on? And that you
no, I don't think so.
Pick it. Iris wouldn't be my first thought. Now I'm getting it, but the first thing I got was a sort of bright green,
there's a real feeling
silvery,
of brightness.
juniper-y thing almost.
A little bit, yeah. There's definitely a herbaceousness. I really get greenness. As I say, I imagine myself being in some sort of conservatory, because it didn't feel quite outside. It felt like there was something cold.
Yeah.
Like a cold, polished marble floor with these green flowers and herbs around.
It does feel like a sort of man-made space of some sort.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you not start to get a bit kind of orisiness?
Yeah, definitely. But no, it's not too austere. It's not like that cold iris that sometimes is very.
No, it's not.
Sort of medicinal and silvery.
It's not. Yeah, it's not quite a straight between the eyes thing.
And not too creamy and buttery either. Just sort of clean and bright and sort of.
There's something kind of beautiful and
like good cooking,
delicate about it. And almost, I start to get slight incensiness to it. It's not.
I can see what you mean.
It's not going on an overt incense iris. There's just a little hint of kind of cold sparkle.
It is very sparkly.
And I feel like with a lot of these, quite a lot of these, I really feel it kind of drew me in. I felt my mind kind of asking questions, and I don't feel like I'm being assaulted by something obvious.
No, it's a very much a sort of intriguing come to me perfume. It's not just shouting.
No.
I keep wanting to go back and have another smell and see what I'm getting.
So underneath this kind of like cold, slightly orrisy veneer with kind of green facets, I felt something a little bit cedary and gaiac-y started to kind of come in, add a little bit of warmth, hint of kind of smokiness.
I'm getting a sort of biscuity, toasty thing.
Or kind of almondy, like a little bit.
Maybe there's something quite sort of like a sort of savoury foodie.
It is foodie, isn't it? I mean, I found with this something, it seems so lazy to refer to something as natural. I mean, these aren't all natural perfumes, but I just really feel, because nothing is projecting in a big hard way, I just feel like I've stumbled. I'm coming back to this idea of this conservatory upon natural smells, as opposed to anything going.
It feels really natural.
Yeah,
very beautiful actually.
So, and if I just
very gentle,
I'll read you a bit. So an hour and a half in, there was a kind of creaminess and a muskiness, which I felt. So I felt that the start was a little bit colder, and it was rounded off a little bit by that creaminess and muskiness. And then an hour after that, it became increasingly suede-y. But
I'm getting a suede quality already.
Yeah, which I think you kind of often get with Oris. But whilst the kind of the creamy suediness was happening, I found the incense became a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
And there was also the greenness turned to a slight fruitiness, and what it made me think was almost like Timbuktu, which is one of my favourite fragrances from Lifetime Parfumeur, that kind of incensey fruity, but like covered in a layer of suede.
Oh, okay.
So you have this bed of gentle orrisy suede, and then underneath just this little fruity incense thing, which wasn't able to quite burst out. It was just kind of like murmuring.
I like that.
Underneath.
Just purring along.
I just felt the whole thing was
really beautiful,
very elegantly put together. And so going on a few hours now, this is kind of 4 to 5 hours, I found there was just this lovely woody kind of complexity, the kind of gaiac-y cedariness became a little bit more. I was interested, after I wore it for the first time, I looked at the notes list and I saw there was oud on the list. And this is certainly not your big kind of out and out oud, but I felt maybe what it was supplying was just this woody complexity underneath. Shall I show you?
Yeah.
Shall I read you the notes list, because there's some things you may not have heard. Carrot seed, bergamot, nectarine, thyme, Sicily, pink pepper, juniper, cloudberry, angelica root, orris butter, kombucha, century, suede, oud, synthetic musk, styrax, ambergris, and vanilla and incense.
Interesting.
So quite an interesting kind of notes list.
But it definitely gives it complexity and personality, doesn't it? And the oud, I know what you mean with the oud. It's like that sort of slightly clean, silvery, metallic Not metallic. Medicinal.
There's nothing funky to it at all.
No.
But I would say this is the first time I've tried it on card. I've only worn it on skin, and I'm not on. It really lives on your skin.
Yeah,
I really feel like it comes to life, and I found it so rewarding to wear.
I'd like to wear that in the spring.
Yeah.
Or any time, but
something pleasingly melancholic about it as well.
Yeah.
Even though there's kind of bright, uplifting facets, there's also something kind of slightly sad. There we go.
That's really good.
Let's go on to the Arborist. Sorry, I really should have lined up these samples before.
So we're going to get something tree-ish.
Let's see. So what do they say? The Green Man, a study of humanity's visceral and tempestuous relationship with nature.
We do have a tempestuous relationship with nature.
Yeah. Come on, let's use up this spray. There we go.
Oh, that's intriguing.
Yep.
That took me a few seconds just to
wait another second, and then. So this is quite a bit more punch, I think.
Yeah.
Like I get like this big, like fir balsam kind of.
Yeah, straight away.
Like, so if Trimerous was this kind of soft, gentle thing emerging, this feels much more like.
This is kind of moody, isn't it?
Yeah.
But still, there's a brightness, there's a freshness to it. It's got these dark edges, but there's a freshness.
So I get fir balsam, but I also get I get this kind of burnt cedar, and we often describe cedar as this kind of pencil shaving things. I don't get that. The reference I had is, so I was recently doing a bit of drilling, you know, as I do a lot, and I did something when my drill was running out, so it was going a bit slow, so that the drill had really started to burn the wood, and the whole thing was kind of smoking. So this metallic woody burning.
Yeah, I definitely get this. I definitely get this burning, and I get something. I get something a little bit animalic. There's a little funkiness here.
Yeah, I've written bit unsettling.
Yeah, it is really unsettling.
It's whereas the other one was the absolute opposite. It was totally gentle and delicate.
Sort of slight dirty engine oil.
Yes, massively so. So I've put
polish.
Carpenter at work in the woods, rough and tumble.
Yeah.
And I also get a medicinal vibe to this.
I get like a medicinal vibe. I get like a medicinal thing trying to clean up something that would be really funky otherwise. Almost like someone, you know, there's some barnyardy funk, but then there's some cleaning. There's something that's trying to clean it and eradicate that at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of veiling it slightly.
I can't remember if I've written. Yeah, no, I have written. I mean, you're going to be a bit surprised, I think, when you read these notes lists. Oh no, hang on, I lost my page in a second.
Quite sort of mild bits of cady.
Yeah, it's weird that he doesn't.
Burnt stuff.
So I would have listed. I thought that maybe there was cade, maybe there was cypriol as well. Because I get a boot polish feel.
I get a real boot polish, absolutely.
I know. I really kind of pictured somebody, you know, in kind of leather overalls with big leather boots, in the forest, drilling through wood.
Yeah, totally, 100%. This is a smell that should not exist in nature.
Yeah.
Other than after a forest fire.
Man-made.
But yeah, it does smell like let's get in there with a chainsaw and.
But then 2 hours later, I started. I felt this almost like brutal opening. It kind of softened a bit, and I got some more sweetness.
I'm getting electrical solder at the moment.
Electrical burning.
Yeah.
I definitely get like.
I remember from CDT lessons at school. You know, we were soldering things, and you get the molten metal and the steam coming, the smoke coming off the end of the soldering iron.
Yeah. Well,
I get that.
It's similar kind of thing.
And all the wood shavings in the workshop.
The other thing is, when I wore this, there was, especially right at the end, there was something. I got a bit of a synthetic wood, which became a little bit too prominent. I don't know if it's Vertifix Curl or subtle Cidrain or subtle, one of those kind of like woody cedary things doing a bit of heavy lifting. And I felt at the end became just a little bit too prominent and dragged it away from this feeling of nature a little bit.
I really like it as a piece of sort of olfactory art.
Yeah.
I would never wear it in a million years. More and more these kind of fragrances I don't wear. I want to wear. It's not that I want things to be accessible, but I want things that I feel I can actually wear as a human being. Do you know what I mean? And I think maybe on some people this works really well. On me, doing what I do day to day, I don't know.
Sometimes.
But I like what it evokes. I think it's fantastic.
I forgot to say as well. These are all £84 for 30ml EDP, which
That's
I think
so good,
is a really great price. I
Incredible.
mean, I'll read you this notes list. I don't think it's going to mean anything to you. I almost feel like I got the wrong notes list. Maybe I have quince, honey, saffron, osmanthus, magnolia, burdock, papyrus, mugwort, rose, tuberose, myrrh, spruce resin, Douglas fir, labdanum, Chetamanzai, malt, lichen. So I feel like the last 4 or 5 things, yes, but the rest of it, I don't
get anything. No.
There was a bit of a floral mid, but interesting.
I do like it a lot, and it really conjures up an image for me, which I guess is the point of making perfume, isn't it? You can transport someone.
Nectary. Let's try.
I have to say though, I do like that. Oh no, wrong one. I do like that boot polish thing.
Oh no, this is the first.
I do like that boot polish.
So Nectary, born of a daydream to create a garden for the skin, equal parts flower, leaf, and soil. What do you think of that?
Thank you. Yeah, recognise that.
So it's kind of a super kind of rose. It almost feels, it feels very, very different from the others, doesn't it? It almost feels like a pastiche of a kind of Arab rose fragrance.
Yeah.
I get a real Turkish delight rose water.
I get a sort of a real savoury edge as well. Like there's
Like
a little
green.
I get like a leathery, just a sort of very hint of smoky leather.
Yeah.
There's something quite fresh in the rose as well.
There's fresh. It almost has that kind of like Typh rosy, kind of lemony, fresh.
It's quite big actually.
It's quite big. It's quite big, but it's never. Especially when I found it on skin, it didn't become one of those big rose, like a Montal rose oud.
It doesn't decimate the entire.
No, I felt it was more sophisticated than that. It wasn't this big like.
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty.
I like that a lot.
It's very, and when I wore this, I just kept thinking it was so well put together. Essentially, what we have here is a rose oud fragrance.
Yeah.
Of which, do we really need another rose oud? But actually, this is really elegantly put together. And I almost ended up thinking of it in the kind of category of something like your Orige or your Bortnikovs, your natural ones, which are much more expensive.
Yeah.
Rather than where this price point places this. This feels much more kind of natural than like an Amouage, like Lyric Man rose, for instance.
Yeah, it's very elegant, isn't it? And it's like it feels like a modern European take on a Middle Eastern go-to.
Yeah. I don't
There's
think
a freshness to it, which I really like. It doesn't just go heavy, spicy.
But what I love is I think there's a
weighty.
freshness, but especially when it wore in skin, there was a little bit of emphasis on the animalic. I didn't feel that it was necessarily. It wasn't like a funky oud. There was just something purring, giving kind of warmth underneath, a little bit funky. That added kind of complexity without going in a big brush projected oud way.
And very gently spicy.
Yeah,
It's like little wisps.
Shall I read you the next list? They list them as impression and then fade. So impression: bramble, cranberry, peach, rose absolute, fade, oud ambergris, rose root, olibanum, self hill, synthetic castoreum, synthetic civet, labdanum absolute, and synthetic musk. But I really, we could say like, do we need another rose oud? But I think actually, I can almost see myself buying this one because it's so elegant. It's so good to wear. There's a kind of like it doesn't list oak moss, but I felt there's an oak mossiness as well. that kind of plants in a
the way the woods and things are playing together. You know what? If you have something with personality to say about an oud, then make it. If you have, I think this to me smells like it has something to say, and it has something different.
It has something to say, but also I think there's just an understated elegance to it.
Yeah.
It's not trying. It's saying something without kind of trying too hard.
In a way, it's just showing the skill of the perfumer, saying, "Okay, look, I can make a really nice rose oud thing as well, with my own take."
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if he was kind of trying his hand.
I can do that. Yeah.
Right. Let's try.
Like a pianist saying, "Oh yeah, I can do a pretty good Liszt B minor sonata."
What, I mean,
here you go.
Who can't? Let's be honest.
I can't. Definitely can't.
Let's Phloem.
Very, very beautiful, actually.
Phloem. I mean, there's extraordinary names here, aren't there?
They actually have a lot of personality. They're growing on the sticks.
Yeah. Well, I did say to you, I really do think these are kind of these are.
What do you call him? The smoky
Arborist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a big. It's that burnt fir balsaminess, isn't it?
Yeah. That's challenging.
So anyway, this is Phloem. Not the spray.
Thank you. The very first impression is something completely
Shall I read you the blurb? Like a neon trident, vascular blooms rip through mercurial waters. Candid rosé sky floods the coastal cottage, provoking lucid dreams of obsessive, silky skin love. Lips smack with saline dab. Phloem represents a miasma of olfactory sin, flushed skin, shoreline, carnival frivolities, caviar lipstick smears, and erogenous effluvium. That was the nicest possible way of saying jizz.
Yeah. Erogenous effluvium. Jeez.
It's weird, isn't it?
I can't pin it down.
There's a few things going. I get a weird inkiness. But there's kind of a sweetness with the inkiness. It's
I get a big sweetness. The first thing I get is
different I didn't find this so sweet on skin. I got more inkiness on skin, and I'm smelling it on card for the first time. But I'm definitely getting a kind of sweetness. But there's a weird mineralic quality as well.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on this. I find it really hard to actually sort of differentiate.
I feel he's kind of tried. It's almost like he's having fun, almost like he's just kind of put a load of accords together, and it's interesting to kind of think what he's doing. I thought, I'll just do something completely crazy.
It's like the impression of a coziness without being able to necessarily pinpoint.
So I
notes.
Put the comment. Sounds horrific, but not actually that bad.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If this is what erogenous effluvium is like, I'm all in favour.
But yeah, I don't get so much of the inkiness. I felt this started on skin as this kind of closed inkiness that eventually opened up, and I got then the impression of a sort of lichen on sea, or almost algae on sea, like rocks at the sea.
Oh, okay.
And a mineralic quality.
Yeah, it's getting more dry, mineralic, salty.
Yeah. Saltiness, but a mineralic...
The sweetness fades pretty quickly.
A mineralic quality which almost borders on unnatural, like chlorine or something. It doesn't smell chlorine, but do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily just smell like the sea.
Yeah. I'm starting to pick up stuff now it's quite unsettling.
And I start to get, I get hints of the kind of fairground and the lipstick and rubber and PVC.
There's a sort of oiliness as well.
Well, I feel that's that kind of inkiness, or more like an oil slick, or. So I felt
bandages.
Bandages,
bandages
on
hot skin, hot, slightly weeping skin. That's very interesting.
It's very interesting. I did say around 4 hours or so. I did feel there was like a woody amber kind of ambroxany. I don't know if maybe it's another woody amber that started to do a lot of heavy lifting. And by the time it got to about 6 hours, I felt that woody amber just obliterated everything.
Oh, really?
And kind of destroyed it, which was a shame because I liked the opening. I just felt, we said before, woody ambers do have their place, but I just felt it just went and steamrolled everything.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it?
Which is a shame.
The opening is fascinating. I find that really intriguing.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it at all.
Again, I can't see myself wearing it, but I think it's interesting. I would say that it is different. I actually prefer it on skin to on card. Anyway, we've got 2 more left. We must carry on. Let's try Medullary-Ray.
Is that as in medulla oblongata, which is part of the brain?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a region of the brain.
Yeah. That sounds sensible.
I remember it from a Bond film.
Right, here we go.
Medulla.
Rays of Tuscan springtime glint between the strokes of a woodworker's plane. The midday air fills heavy with a scent of blushed fruit and waxen leaf. Very different place, aren't we?
The first thing I get is the feeling that this is going to develop in quite a funky animalic direction.
Yeah. So I feel we've got this kind of dense, musty. I said
musty.
Feels like an old shed.
Yeah. A bit of the troubling quality of
Arborist, yeah.
Arborist as well.
I almost feel like they started with a similar idea, and he took one in this burnt wood, and then he's taken this other. And it's just this is the biggest fragrance of them all. It's just this big, deep, dark, dank, peaty.
Very peaty.
Very peaty. This is the one I said I was reminded of, like a Prin fragrance.
Yeah.
Prin Lomros.
Very boozy as well.
Enormously peaty, like spectacularly peaty. So my next comment was Scottish cabin in the woods that's gone slightly rotten.
Yeah.
Like on some peaty bogs.
And a little bit on fire.
And a bit on fire, yeah.
Not completely, not as much as Arborist, but yeah.
But there is something slightly rotten.
There's an animalic, like, not BO, but kind of like human skin.
Yeah.
Quite sexual.
Well, there's also, I think there's definitely there's a skin, there's a gaiaki smoked meat thing.
Yeah, totally.
Generally. And I don't know if you're going to start to get this soon, but then like this kind of weird...
it's bloody good, actually.
This black olive note comes up in a minute.
I get already, I mean, now that you've said it, this weird, because I don't like olives, this weird, savoury, like, salty tapenade thing.
It's weird, isn't it? So you've got this musty, deep,
Very
dark, peaty, smoky, almost like some Scottish smokehouse in a dilapidated, falling apart shed in a boggy, peaty field.
Speaking
making tapenade.
Speaking of Bond, the scene in Skyfall where James Bond goes back to Skyfall, and Willie, played by what's his name, the guy who plays Daddy Warbucks in Annie, he is there, and I imagine that's how he smells. He lives in this house. He's got guns. He's probably sat drinking Lafroig all day long.
And this is
beautiful.
As with some of them, what we're describing may sound like an absolute car crash, but you don't feel there's something quite homogenous and quite elegantly.
Yeah. It's really classically beautiful, and all the edges are very rounded out so that it doesn't ever feel like you're being whacked across the chops.
But I can see this reference to kind of something Tuscan, and the description which I sent you. Was like Italian roast lamb barbecue in a dilapidated Scottish shed.
Absolutely.
I feel it's strangely savoury in a way that almost you wouldn't eat it. It feels like you should be marinating something with it.
Yeah.
And along with this gaiaki smoked meat.
I get something really sort of weirdly troubling there, like a kind of Worcester sauce.
Yes.
With all that sort of anchovy, salty, not too sweet, but just a little bit of sweetness as well. Like a little labdanum-y wisps.
I felt like this took an interesting turn in a while, that it became a little bit, the smokiness did drop back, and I got a little bit of a kind of rosiness, which I kind of didn't anticipate from where we are now.
Interesting.
But generally, you know, this gaiac-y, smoky, meaty mustiness, you know, there must be cashmerean in there creating some of that mustiness.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good though. I mean, again, I don't think I would wear it for myself, but as a piece of art,
yes.
you know, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think
I would wear the rose oud thing.
It's one of the most interesting. Right, we're on the last one.
These are really good. They're all really interesting.
See what I mean? Sorry, you see what I mean? Lots of personality.
Absolutely. See, this is what perfume making should be about. Not this paint by numbers, boring crap that goes on.
£84 for 30 ml. It's reasonable.
Great value.
So you're not breaking the bank. You can just try one without thinking, oh, I need to buy 250.
Well, you know, my first ever Creed that I bought in about 2005 or 6, I seem to remember it. You know, that was about 80 quid for 30 ml, and that was then. And still, these guys.
Maybe this will be.
Do you know what I mean? They're putting out much more interesting stuff.
Nemo meum pune lacessit, sorry. The Order of the Thistle, the defiant motto of Scotland, an ancestral virtue. Unashamedly polarising, Carduus is a blend of jagged leaves, herbal seeds, and xeric barks.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So I feel this. It was just a coincidence. I smelt it last, but I feel this has taken some of the best bits of lots of them. There's a kind of like a mossiness. There's a kind of dry woodiness. There's tobacco. Yeah,
tobacco. There's sort of 5 spice.
Yep.
Fennel.
Yes. There's a feeling of gentle warmth and heat.
Yeah.
I think there's a kind of honeyness. I don't know if it's just the tobacco, but I definitely get there's a slight sweetness which is definitely not saccharine. It's just a gentle, savoury honey, which kind of goes well.
Yeah, it's a savoury honey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Lovely tobacco. Tea?
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely.
Lots of nice kind of savoury things. It's a sort of...
Very autumnal.
Yeah, it's a sort of savoury gourmand, kind of. I mean, tobacco isn't, but I get tobacco, honey, tea, some other kind of herbal things, like some more like a selection of herbal teas.
Little wisps of something animalic, just very, very distant.
Yes, that becomes a little bit more so. But also, we're describing lots of things, but once again, as we get from a lot of these fragrances, I just feel elegant, super elegant.
Totally. It's so round.
It's a really well composed. 1 hour in, it went quite a lot more floral. I went through it went through a waxy green phase, but then it became a little bit more floral, and then the honey seemed to almost become a little bit animalic, indolic. You know, kind of beeswax can have that kind of slightly kind of funkiness.
But I like the freshness. I keep getting these wafts of fennelly, aniseedy.
Yeah, I really get
freshly cracked black pepper, maybe.
But this wild herbaceous quality, you know, which can draw you back to that Skyfall scene a little bit.
Yeah,
just
totally.
Wild kind of herbs of Scottish. I found as I wore it 6 hours in, it was actually the tea which became quite dominant. A lot of the kind of tobacco-iness receded, and I felt there were passing florals in the mid, but they went away for the dry down.
Quite vintage nod as well.
Vintagey, and a little bit of animalic funk towards the end. And then also towards the end, it became really a little bit incensey as well. It was almost a little bit bottom to top kind of thing, that we started off with kind of tobacco-y, thick round notes, and as it went lower, it got brighter. It's good though, isn't it?
It's really good.
It's
bursting with personality.
Nice tea chest vibe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd wear that in a heartbeat. Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Just lots of stuff going on, but all together, all sort of serving the same purpose.
Should
we making a complete experience.
Should we have a recap?
Yes.
So this is Trimerous. I really like this one. I think this is one of my favourites. It's the first one I tried. So that's the Orisi, creamy, incensey, and it was just beautiful to wear on skin. I loved wearing it on skin. It's
really good.
Luxurious, natural in the best possible way. bits of sparkle, bits of fruit. It wasn't just an Arborist thing. There was other stuff going on, and it wasn't just an Arborist thing. Nor was it an Iris, nor was it an obvious Iris incense.
But it is bright and clean,
more
isn't it?
sophistication.
Yeah. Very beautiful.
I like that a lot. Also, the kind of dryness, papyriness. Right. Arborist. So actually, do they list oud in that one? I feel that feels quite oudy, doesn't it?
Yeah. More so than it did.
The at this stage, the Douglas fir and the fir balsam are really giving that kind
just
of burnt
troubling
wood. Yeah.
Troubling. But again, fantastically done.
Yeah, I just felt with that there was a synthetic woody thing which was just a little bit too prominent for me and found a little bit unpleasant. I mean, and then completely different world. We're back into the kind of brightness of the Nectary, and again, this is another one I could really see myself wearing.
Yeah, me too.
Really see it. It felt elegant. It didn't feel like a big shouty rose oud. It was a well put together.
Yeah,
rose
it's
oud.
got energy about it, and it's got a brightness and freshness.
Personality, complexity, multifaceted. There's your brightness, your greenness, slightly animalic.
It smells to me like someone that is very outgoing, very friendly, very approachable, but then also really interesting and has stuff about them.
Yeah, has something to say.
Kind of, they'll lure you in and attract you, and then be really interesting on top of that. Beautiful. I don't know why that came to my head.
Something different. Phloem, gone quite jizzy, isn't it?
Yeah. Quite sort of milky eucalyptus.
Lactonic, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting study. I
couldn't wear it though.
Medullary-Ray. Again, there's a lot going on there, especially after the last one.
It's a real relative to Arboretum, not Arboretum.
Arborist.
Yeah, but really interesting. You smell that and you think, God, that's telling me something. That's making my mind work overtime and picturing stuff.
And actually, in the winter,
all I can ask.
In the winter, if you're going to on a cold, rainy day and you're sitting down in a pub by a fire,
perfect.
That's what you want to smell like.
Go to the old Cheshire Cheese I did before Christmas, and they've got the open fires in there, and the whole building is full of smoky, sooty smells.
But I do love this. This is Carduus, and I do feel tea, herbs,
fantastic.
fresh, beautiful nature.
It's really beautiful, and it has this feeling of vintage, whilst also being completely modern somehow.
I like it.
A little bit of polo green going on there as well, I think, if you can take your mind in that direction.
Yeah, I can see that. So, favourites?
For me, favourites, that, definitely
Carduus,
100% Carduus. What was the rose called?
Nectary.
Nectary, I really enjoyed that. And I'd have to say the very first one we smelled as well.
Trimerous, yeah. I would say it's exactly the same. They're my three winners.
They are the three most approachable. But that's not a bad thing, because actually they are full of personality and interest.
This Trimerous, on card, can you get that incense coming through now?
Yeah.
I really felt on skin that just lived, which is what you want perfume to do. But
I'd buy this now. I mean, I know I've talked about it before, and it's a perfume I do enjoy, the original Dior Homme Intense.
Yeah.
And I do like that sometimes. It's friendly and it's kind of, it's beautifully done. I would now buy this in the place of that.
And it's £84, so very reasonable.
Cheaper. Yeah.
So, good sport. I would love to see. There were some of the other fragrances which I really wanted to try, but this was just.
I want to smell the whole house now and see what they've got.
This was just worked out the kind of the most economical way of kind of dipping our toes into the house. So, if you have tried any of these fragrances, let us know. Let us know what you think. If you've maybe you own these fragrances, you've worn them a bit longer, but also it'd be good to hear. Some of you might say you need to try. So
let us know, because we're keen. So do they have a bricks and mortar store in Edinburgh that you can go into? So I'm absolutely, next time I'm there, I'm gonna go in.
As long as you don't get too drunk and go to Absurdist comedy and don't sing opera all the time.
The Absurdist comedy is me getting drunk. So who needs to go to a show?
Anyway, till next time.
Bye.
Happy sniffing.